devices up there. We're live.
Hey everybody,
Yo, yo, yo.
great evening. Instagram is
Great
checking.
evening.
All right.
What's going on, Facebook? What's going on, family? It's
Hey Bree.
been 2 weeks. Bree in the building. What's up, Bree?
Hey family.
Shout out to Bree and I Know a Girl.
Yeah, shout out if y'all not following Bree Thompson. She's live on she's on our live on my Facebook personal page, Bree Thompson, also known as I Know a Girl. So follow her at I Know a Girl on Facebook and Instagram. Okay?
That's right. She just launched, and we're proud of what she's doing over there. She's galvanizing just women, just amazing women, and all the
Yes.
amazing things that we know women do on this world. So we're so proud of just knowing her and seeing what she's doing. You know, she's at the beginning of it, but I think it's going to be something amazing that is going to benefit lives to come. So we support her, and
Yes.
we're so happy with what she's doing. So shout out to her. Shout out to everybody who has been navigating through these last
times,
2 weeks. Yes, it has been a time. And we purposely, if you wonder where we've been, we'll talk about that in a second, but we purposely kind of took a step back these last 2 weeks to obviously, I don't want to say address what's been going on in the nation, but to take it all in, have conversations with our family members, our friends, co-workers, you name it. And we wanted to be sensitive to status quo, just going on with what's the norm, right? So we're going to talk about that today in our live. But
You exit out of that for me.
you're going to keep looking at it?
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Just in case he unmutes everybody, but yeah, so
It's muted.
I know that
We wouldn't hear it, but
we have something going on in the background. I just didn't want to be distracted.
it's all right. That's all right. All right.
Hey
What's
Nisha.
up? All right. So
Hey Wayne.
G
Hey
Wayne in
bro.
the building.
And like we mentioned, I know a girl, we know a guy. Her
Oh.
husband, none other than G Wayne Thompson
You
the
do.
second. I was about to say follow him, but he's not on Instagram, but he's on Facebook. Okay, follow
Well, he is
him.
on Instagram. He just
On his personal, on his Instagram, but I don't want to give out his personal on the gram. But on Facebook, follow I Know a Guy.
Brittany.
Brit.
Shout out. So I was kind of tap dancing a little bit while Kim was getting us set up on Instagram. But we wanted to take a pause, obviously, the last 2 weeks to be sensitive to what was going on in the nation. And we thought it was fitting to come on and talk about it from a branding standpoint. It's always really important to be relevant to what's happening in the world so that people don't take it out. And we'll talk about it today, but you don't come up as being insensitive and really just a lot of times people want to know the people behind the brand, right? Behind the product or service. And we want to get a chance to share that with you all today and just have a discussion around that. And we would love the questions at the end to be open to whatever, right? But we wanted to just kind of have a discussion on how to position your brand during this season, right? During a time like this, and making sure that your conversation is relevant to what's going on and you're not ignoring it, right? So, that's my little intro. Obviously, we'll let Kim intro us in, and then we can get going with the conversation.
No, ditto what Cleet said. We're married. We share the same exact sentiments or whatever. But how I normally do, I'm very consistent in all that I do. So I still want to welcome you all. Like I always say, I hope you all, even though we, as a country, as a nation, we've been going through a lot lately. Of course with the pandemic, but with everything, in the justice arena in our society. Just go on over. I hope nonetheless you all have been still trying to have, better than ever days, like I always say. Like we said, we hope you and your families have been staying safe, staying healthy.
Yeah. So,
and we've been off for like Clee said, the last 2 weeks, but we wanted to come back this week.
yeah, come back this week, get back on a regular cadence of our lives, but then also to talk about what's going on in the nation. You know, like I said, people do business with brands they know, like, and trust, right? So it's going to be hard for them to know, like, and trust you if they never see any vulnerability, if they never see any behind the scenes, so to speak. So we're going to talk directly about how we have experienced what's been happening in the nation with George Floyd, with Breonna Taylor, right? Yeah, Breonna Taylor, and of course Ahmaud Arbery, and you know, and how that has impacted us as a family and some of the things and discussions we had, and then we're gonna just get into some do's and don'ts of how to navigate your brand through this, because the thing is, although you have a brand that you use to promote your product or your service, that brand still takes on an identity that represents you as a business owner, as a content creator. And if it's not sensitive, if it's not relevant to what's going on, then, you know, as you can see with some of the celebrities and brands, you can get a negative flack for not being a part of the solution, or at least offering up your perspective on what's going on. So how has it impacted us? Obviously, we're an African American couple in America. You know what I mean? I mean, if you ever wonder, you know.
Brown skin.
And you know, it has been an absolute journey. The last 2 weeks, you know, has caused a lot of introspection, just on different things I've went through as a black male in America, and Kim has gone through it as an African American female in America. And you know, I'm sure any other black man that's watching this live, or that's going to watch the repeat, you notice the whole reality of driving while being black, of just interaction with police. We all have stories that we can share. You know, me personally, I've had my encounters, and you know, I've had my encounters both in the workplace, both on a, you know, just leaving out of the front door. And you know, what I will say about what I've seen this last week is the outpour of so many different race. I don't want to call it different races because we're one race, but so many different ethnicities coming together on one unified topic, and that's the fact that we're human, and we shouldn't see humans treated like we saw in the video with George Floyd. You know, and you know, some of the conversations I've had to speak at my job as the only African American in leadership at my job.
You had to be that voice.
I've had to be that voice, right, and have those conversations with some of my white coworkers who are all over the country, work in a virtual environment, and you know, I've had to represent the race in those conversations. You know what I mean? You know, but what I shared with them is the fact that, you know, this time is causing people to hear our voice and to partner with us to get a solution and not ignore us. You know, the rioting and, you know, the protesting and all of the anger is as a result of a people who have not been heard. You know, we've been yelling from the mountaintop that this has been happening, and it took, you know, what we've witnessed in these last 3 situations for us to finally get to a point where we reached a tipping point. So although it took sacrifice of someone's life, and you know, our prayers go out to George Floyd's family and everyone that's associated with him in that situation. But it took that for our nation to wake up and for us to start having these discussions. So I mean, nonstop since since 2 Mondays ago when it happened. I have been having conversations with my Indian friends and my Hispanic friends and my Asian friends and my white coworkers, and just explaining my experience as a black man, and how, like I said, you know how this is impacting us. And one of the primary things I've shared with them is, you know, the discussion that we all know as men we have to have with our children, particularly with our sons. And you know,
hey, Brandon.
You know, that's something that every time I would bring it up, it would break their heart. But it showed me that a lot of people, because it didn't affect their personal lives, they hadn't taken the time to actually stop and think what these situations that happen in the news, these killing of unarmed black men and women was really doing to our psyche and the trauma that it was constantly causing us. So anyway, you know, talked about that, and I think we've been making some real progress. So moving forward, you know, we're looking to I think carry on, you know, these discussions and this mindset of how to improve the problem.
Right.
One thing that our pastor said that we thought was very powerful, shout out to Pastor Patrick,
Great Faith.
Great Faith Church. He was saying, you know, let's not wait for the next situation to happen to now get excited or get motivated and inspired to make change happen. What are we doing in between these moments? And let's not let there be an in between. Let's let there be a stopping. So it's in these small conversations that we have with our coworkers that are Caucasian and you know, of other races. It's with these it's in the protests, right? It's in the causes and the petitions and all of the things that the small things is going to voting, right? It's going to vote.
Actions. It's actions. Yeah.
It's in the action that we're going to correct this problem as a nation, and I'm just excited for that. So with all that said, you know, that's my intro. I don't know if you have anything to share there, but we'll dive into some of the do's and don'ts of branding.
Right.
You know, good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. She's like, I'm minding my business. I stay out of my business, basically.
No.
It's all right.
You did good.
So do's and don'ts. So here's the thing, right? This has happened, and you all have seen, or you've been seeing on social media. If you've been on Instagram, Facebook, no matter where you've been, if you went to Google, you know what I mean, you're seeing like the polarizing conversations that's happening as a result of the situation that we've had in our nation. And then you see the celebrities and the brands that have dropped the ball. Yeah, you know, they haven't approached this the right way. They either ignored it, they either came too late to they came to the conversation too late, and they were ineffective. It's just so many examples of people who have done it wrong, but then you've seen some companies that done it right? So what we want to do is just have a discussion around that, right? Let's talk about the do's and don'ts of how to position your brands and how to position your brand in times like this.
Right, because you know, a lot of times you get in the situations where you're like, oh, you know, you could be that person with my brand. Like, I'm gonna go in on this, you know, this cause, and then you could be like, oh shoot, like, I'm not saying what do I say, like, you know, and then you just remain quiet for go ghost for a whole year, kind of thing, or you the type that what I said you just say something, not say something, or just to be. We're gonna, you know, get into our points here, but be like insensitive and just go BAU, business as usual.
Yeah.
You know, in the process.
And there ain't gonna be no business. You know what I'm saying? You know, people out here dying and you'll feel like, hey.
Quickly get canceled.
Hey, I need you to buy these candles though. You're like, the dude just died yesterday. Yeah, I feel you. But can you get these candles? I got a sell 50% off. Yeah, but people are dying in the street, like down the street. Yeah, I hear you. But I got a special, right? I'll give you, like, yo.
Hey, G-Bob.
You know, and it's funny, right?
That's right, Britt. Check yourself.
Yeah, and it's funny, but think about it. Like, that's the message you're sending when it's business as usual, right? So, you know, we saw that these last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
tone deaf. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, you can't be tone deaf, you know? And we saw this last 2 weeks. So initially, we wanted to have this discussion, but first it's like, okay, it's too early. The first week that it happened, it was literally, our lives are on Tuesday. It happened on Monday, so we're not going to come in there like, yeah, let's talk about the branding do's and don'ts. Yeah, probably not. You know, you don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? And then the next week after that, you know, we had been, like I said, you know, it was a crazy week the second week because now it started hitting the nation and everyone, you know, asking questions and, you know, I've talked more than I've talked. You know, I've talked this last week more than I've talked in about a year. But it's all right. You know, it was an honor to be someone considered as a voice to talk about those particular topics. So,
and I was going to say, we got into our first point under our, our first don't, act like nothing happened. Don't act like nothing happened and you're continuing to post, and do business as usual, like we mentioned.
Yeah, you have to, if there's something, and obviously this is about Black Lives Matter, this current situation, but there could be COVID, right? COVID was another example. People are sick and they're dying.
Right.
And and obviously once we get weeks away from the initial hit of a particular topic, then I get it, right? You kind of go back to business as usual or the new version of what business is, right? But when something first happens, same problem people have with COVID. It's like, okay, people are dying and you're like, yeah, come on to my restaurant. We give you 25% off on buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's some airborne out there. No, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like,
not being sensitive
you have to be able to use creativity in your approach to your business, understanding that I can't just do what I've always done to get the results to get new results or better results. So I have to be able to shift as the climate shifts, right? So there's things that are going to happen in the world that you have to take into account.
And I was saying I'm sorry, cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's it.
I was saying be human. Like, one thing we harping on is be your authentic self in branding. People want to see the voices behind the brands, and with that, like, we still continue our lives, or have been still continuing our lives throughout this whole COVID situation. But every life, we're like, hey, people, how are you all doing? Are y'all staying healthy? Are y'all staying safe? How's your family doing? Or whatever. And we've been getting feedback or whatever. But it's just that little time that we're taking, acknowledging to, our audience, how are you all doing during this time? You know what I'm saying? And not just like Cleet said, just
business as usual. But that's the point, and that's the point that one of the sub points of this, which is, it's acknowledging it, right? It's not ignoring the problem. So you don't have to be an activist on it, right? You don't have to be the person the expert on that particular subject or thing that's happening in the world. You just gotta acknowledge it as a human. Hey, guys, this just happened. Hey, there were tornadoes the other day. I hope everyone's okay. Okay, if you need any help, here's a hotline you can call, whatever. All right. Hope you're good. Everyone's good. Okay. So let's talk about what I want to talk about today. But, if you need help, message me, right? It's acknowledging that we're human. We're the humans that are behind these brands. Okay. We're the humans that are behind these products. Right. So once you do that, people begin to
galvanize.
Not galvanize. They begin to gravitate to you more, right? They can relate. That's the word. They begin to relate with you better. So.
Adrian said, some people aren't speaking up because they claim they're not good with politics. This is a human issue, not a political issue. When in doubt, speak from the heart.
Come on, Adrian is dropping nuggets. We got to get a live going with you. But that's the truth. It's like there are some things that, although there's political aspects to them, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to just go business as usual because I don't want to go left or right. There are certain things that are going to drive us to the center. And the center is where the love is. And the center is where the human needs. There's 4 undeniable needs we all have as humans, right? We all need to eat and survive. We need to sleep. Our bodies need to rest. We need the feeling of community, right?
Better break down the points.
The
4 core areas, okay? Dr. Gun.
Oh, wow. But you need a sense of community, You need to feel like you're loved, right? And then you have a purpose, right? You're here on this earth to pursue something specific. We all have something specific that we're here to pursue. So those are like the things that galvanize and unify us as human beings. And there's certain things like seeing a man die on camera that just gonna galvanize people. Like, I don't care if you're a racist or if you're a bigot or if you're anything, there are certain things that we can all agree on that we need as human beings. And like Adrian is saying, it's like at that point it's not about politics. It's just about what's humanity, right? Was humanly right. So
you got some come on docs, gums, and Britt said, but people be scared though. When you are scared, you do reckless things.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah, and honestly, fear comes from a lack of knowledge, right? When when you haven't sought to get more information about a thing, then you operate from a place of fear because you're uncertain, right?
Yeah.
So this is what these discussions do. You begin to realize like, oh, you know what? There is a way that I can position my brand where I'm not like being polarizing in the things I'm saying, and just talk about the center. Like, you know, that's going to be one of the driving points from from today is like we got to stay in the center. There's going to be propaganda, there's going to be news outlets, there's going to be all kind of driving forces to drive us left or right. That could be left politically or right politically, but if we can find a way to stay in the center, then that's where love lives, that's where progress lives, you know? So so yeah, so that's just that point. But because you
no, because you know it's the heart.
It's, I mean, you know, this is what, you know, churches are here for, but that's a whole other conversation, right? Now, another don't. I talked about it just briefly, right? Polarizing. So here's the thing, and it goes back to what Adrian Sanders, right? It's like,
she said, "Come on, Pastor Cleet."
it's you know, with your post, right? You can have you can be avid on a particular point that you want to make and that is dear to you. But understand that when you're far left or far right, there's another group of people that you're alienating yourself from. And with your brand, so as a person, hey, you have all means, you have freedom of speech, you have what you believe and what you stand on, that's great. But when you have a brand that you're looking to sell to the masses, right? And no one can sell to everyone in the world, but you still have a niche group of people.
Your target audience.
Yeah, your target audience that you know, that may have different political views. They may have different beliefs, right? You know, if you're trying to sell T-shirts, you don't care if a person's Muslim or Christian. I hope not, right? It's just like, look, just buy the shirt. You know, it's gonna look good on you. Let's go on, right? So, with that being said, you have to understand that the things that I post, I have to be conscious of if it's polarizing, right? Is it really going to position me and my brand to be far left and group me in with the people with a movement that I may not want to be grouped in with? It's not that movement is bad, and it's not that I can't make statements, but how do I show support for this middle part, right? If I care about this middle part, that's the thing that we all want. Sure, we may feel justified sometimes to be far left or justified to be far right, but when you look at what really matters, never changes, right? No. As much as you may want to be left or maybe want to be right.
There's some preaching points over the end of the night.
You still gotta eat, you know what I mean? As much as you want to be left and right, you still need family, right? As much as you get my point. So if you stay on those, the posts that you jump behind and you repost and all those other things, they only further support your brand. They support, you know, your brand. It finds itself in a safe place because you're appealing to the human part of us all, and you're not getting into, you know, hey, fry him, you know, he needs to get fried, and it's like, all lives matter, you know, and then you just get because what happens? This is what happens. If you're far left, you're far right, you start getting on social media, and you're like, you know what, I don't want none of it, man. It's just crazy.
What matters is not changing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and you just get to a point where this is too much, it's overwhelming. I don't agree all the way left, I don't agree all the way right, but just forget it, I don't want no part of it. And what happens is, then that's what happens where no change happens. We don't get any progress, right? We get to the next killing and next death, and we're like, oh man, how are we still here? Because we're not seeing what people are clearly doing. They're driving us away from the center where we need to be. So anyway, you're gonna see that stuff. Because he's a sinner. Anyway, so you're gonna see this.
Preacher voice.
We ain't trying to preach, y'all. I promise y'all. We're trying to talk about this brand.
And for those of y'all who don't know, we are ministers at our church, so like we're heavy in the ministry, so it just naturally comes.
Hey, listen. This is the time we need Jesus, man. I can't be trying to clean it up for you too much, man. You know, Jesus is the answer. I'm sorry. That's all I know. That's the only way I know how to say it. But you know, we gonna hit you with the branding and the business points.
Yes.
But the real tie-in is Jesus.
Yes.
So anyway, don't post polarizing things, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want polarizing comments on your stuff, right? You're gonna get the people say, die. Evil people. There's evil people out here, man. And let's just stay away from the evil people, all right? So I just try to help y'all out. I know that you may, like this is gonna be one of our one of our points that we talk about, and seeking counsel from your friends and family, or mainly from people who who understand your brand and what you're trying to do, because family too can get you off. But let's have a conversation. But just understand that when you post something super polarizing, there's a consequence with it. And if you're willing to deal with that consequence, you're fine.
Yeah, just be ready. Just be ready.
And know that nothing dies on the internet. There's people who are taking screenshots the moment you post stuff, even if you feel like you're a nobody. There are people on there that are gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, okay, got it. And then 10 years later, you making millions of dollars, you're all on TV, you know what I mean? And they're like, up there like this, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, isn't that funny about that 1999?
Well, we didn't have Instagram in 99.
Yeah.
Y'all should have pointed.
What?
That was dial-up, right?
Yeah, that was dial-up.
Got those receipts, yeah.
Yeah, them virtual receipts, so.
Yeah.
All right, and then, so anyway, that's the third point. We get stuck in these points.
No, last don't get caught up in arguments or movements that don't align with your brand, right? Got some people laughing.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that we kind of got into the third point, right?
Yeah.
Don't, so you find yourself in comments, someone's like, all lives matter, not black lives. You like, okay, listen, you obviously trying to, you're trying to get me to go far left or right. I'm not going to take debate. You take debate, you get in an argument, you prove them wrong, you got them. Yeah, look at it. I showed her, I showed him. Don't you ever come for me, man. I'm black, man. What's wrong with you? Okay, cool. All right, you won.
So true. And Adrian said none of us would have jobs right now if social media was around in the 90s.
No. Facts. You know what I mean? So but it's so you getting caught up in these arguments and they don't get you anywhere, because you win that argument for that moment, but like we said, it's these online receipts. 10 years down the road, your business is thriving and this comes back and now you have to deal with it in the state of public opinion. So just try to avoid those, understanding that, listen, my brand is this. The Branding Geeks, the underlying thing behind all the things we're doing is we want to make lives better.
Yes.
We understand that our way to make lives better is through our skill sets. Our skill sets to help you with your marketing, with your branding, through web design, through graphic design, through messaging, right? Making sure your message is clear, that a message that your people can understand, your people being your audience, your potential clients, your prospects. We focus on making that messaging clear so that they understand where you come from and what you can do to help them. That's what we bring to the table. So when we go to post things, it's not that we're trying to be political, it's not we're trying to be safe. We're just understanding that, listen, if I post something that can hurt that overall vision, I'm hurting my brand, I'm hurting the growth of my business, and I'm affecting my bottom line. If I can't provide for my family, then financially it's hurting us. So there's a lot that happens, and you gotta understand, you gotta make that decision. With this one post, am I considering all of that? So
counting the cost.
Count that cost, man. You know what I mean?
Yes, and tell Adrian happy birthday. Oh, this is a different Adrian's brand. This is one of our Girl CEO community people and clients.
That's right.
Go follow Chic Essentials Boutique.
Oh yeah, and curated
Styles by Adrian.
That's right. This girl doing big things.
Okay, come on, trademark.
So it's that Adrian.
Hey, Lakeisha.
Oh, Lakeisha in the building. What's up?
We got people coming in. Join us. Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, please like and share our live. Yeah, and if you just joined us, we woke in here. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Black lives, keeping it real. And we're just talking about, how we were off for 2 weeks to be sensitive to it. And now we're talking about, as brands, as content producers, how can we, content creators, how can we be sensitive to, what's happening in the world and making sure your brand isn't tone deaf, right? Making sure you understand what's going on. So we just went through the don'ts. Now we're about to get into the do's. So what are the do's, right? So you see,
I did a little intro into this live, and I kind of told a little bit about my experience this week. I didn't take the full time to go into my story, but one of the do is tell your story and how it relates to the current event in the world. You know, that could be, you know, in this current situation, Black Lives Matter. So me personally, and a lot of personal conversations in at you know, with my 9 to 5, and you know, with other things that other organizations that I'm a part of, I've shared my story and how my interactions happen with the police and with you know, systemic racism and all those things, and you know, it really galvanized a lot of people to understand things that they never thought about before, right? So telling your story is a major do. You tell your story and how it relates to the subject, and it lets people know that, oh man, I would have never known that about. I never knew, you know, that you went through that situation, you know.
Or a Kevin Hart fan.
That's not Kevin Hart.
Oh wait, Tony Baker.
Tony Baker, it's all right.
Wait.
Tony Baker.
He's so excited.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. You know, it happens. You know. So, anyways.
And I was going to say, with the Branding Geeks, one of the things we focus with our clients is story branding. So, you know, for those who work with us, you should already be familiar with or already doing this for your brand and store.
Story brand.
Telling stories. Yeah. What did I say?
You were about to say it right.
Story brand. Did I say that backwards?
Story brand.
Oh, story brand.
And then brand script.
Oh, brand. Yeah, that's what it is. I'm like, it just sounds off. But yes, essentially. So, and this is a perfect situation to even tell your story and how you connect with your audience.
Yeah, because I mean,
during these times.
You know, you hear us say it all the time. This is our slogan, right? People do business with companies and brands that they know, like, and trust.
Right.
So the best way to get people to know, like, and trust you is to tell your story. To tell, like, hey, why did I start this business? What value am I looking to bring, right? Why did I do this as opposed to that, right? It's letting people behind the scenes. So so in these seasons, instead of being tone deaf, and instead of business as usual, and instead of ignoring what's happening in the world, you tell your story and how it relates to what's happening in the world, and that's your way of contributing to the conversation. You say, for me, as a black man in America, this is what I've experienced. And you're like, oh wow, this has nothing to do with my brand per se, but it's showing that I'm a human that owns a business that is affected by the world. Yeah. You know, so that's the first two.
And Adrian said, I've had so many colleagues reach out to me. I feel like I've been a dang old psychologist for the last week or so. It's
Come
so
on,
draining.
that part. Listen, I'm like, where's my degree? You know what I'm saying?
That part, okay. You take a third, fourth degree.
Sure, I should have get a lab. You don't get a lab coat for that. Never mind.
He wants a lab coat.
Give me a lab coat, man. So, give me a lab coat from a lab. Anywho,
second due.
Second one. Oh, shout out Sam Richards. What's up, brother?
She said, I want another salary.
For real. Hey.
No, like, trust. That's right.
We Sam, man, we got to do our podcast, bro. I didn't forget, man. Hit me up. So anyway, yeah, man, we need a salary after last week. After these last 2 weeks.
Another salary because that's a whole new job in itself.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like, you know, and not to go on a tangent, we'll try not to digress too far. But, you know, it's like all of a sudden you're starting to get more inquiries about, you know, from white friends, from all other races, like, hey, tell me more about it. I'm like, I've been trying to tell you. I would have told you months ago. Now I got all this stuff to do, but it's like bittersweet because, you know, I do appreciate those who have reached out and they wanted to know more. And then it has been some really great and powerful conversations, I think. So, although it's been stressful, it's something that's needed to happen for a long time. But man, listen, it's been a crazy 2 weeks, and I'm glad to be back to, you know, back to our lives and talking about the stuff we love to do. So anyway, I'm over here trying to read messages and still talk, throwing me off. Sorry. All right, so second do. So we talked about telling your story, right? So we already went over the don'ts, now we're in the do's, right? So a second do is seeking counsel before you post stuff. Like sometimes sometimes like you might You might be scrolling and somebody say the craziest thing. You're like, oh, I wish you would. How dare you? You know what I'm saying? You got the Twitter fingers.
Right. I got the quick fingers with it.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa. You just about to abort your whole brand. You probably spent the last 2 years building it, and now it's like, for nothing. Inside joke. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? You just running out there, and now you have to do
Get
this
that
PR.
group text. Yes, come on now.
Yeah. That's Brittany, great point. A lot of times, run it by your group text. Your group text, everyone got a group text.
They'll say abort.
Like, probably. Yeah,
Not right now.
That's probably not gonna work. And and this worked for all cultures, right? So if you need to.
So we have our little one coming in.
Okay. All right. Somebody say hello, everybody.
You know they make their appearances sometimes. Oh,
They didn't see you.
They can't see
Come over one more, a little bit.
Say hi, everybody.
So who's gonna be for tomorrow? Ah, good job. All right, there you go, huh? All right, close the door.
She hops away.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
She said, just like this. Just like this.
All right.
Oh, and another one. The other one comes in, y'all. This is
Just say hello.
This is
You
real
wanna say
life.
hello?
This is real life.
Oh, come say how old you are.
Okay, come on. Tell everybody. There's a lot of people watching. We got millions. Come on. Tell them millions. That's right.
I'm gonna turn 7.
When you turn 7.
It's my birthday.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
You answered the question.
Yeah. Good job, buddy. Close the door. Aiden, close the door.
Aiden, close the door, buddy. He's on his game.
Oh, he's back on his game. Close the door.
Yay, virtual party. Kids, they're so literal,
So
Tell everybody when's your birthday. When's your birthday?
He said, how old? You said, when you turning 7? On my birthday?
When's my
On my birthday? That's what is happening? Why yes? I gave you the details.
I mean, it's the truth.
Hey, he answered the question.
Oh, kids. He said, I don't give out personal info to y'all strangers.
Adrian said, I don't give out personal information to strangers. Hey, that's proper training,
No, Lord.
So,
Bruce, I gotta go to Target and get her something. Yes, anything Disney princess she likes.
That's right. Well, listen, this has been an awesome live. We got one more point before we get out of here, and we want to leave some time.
Did you finish your last one? I think we kept it.
Listen, parenting 101.
Yes.
Seeking counsel. So yeah, we talked about it, right?
Yes, group text or
get your group text. And then also, because this is Black Lives Matter, right? There could be something that happens in the Middle East. There could be something that happens in South America, right? So we all have friends of different races. If you want to support a cause, check with your friends that are directly affected by that situation, so that you can, you can make sure you're coming from the right angle. Just don't go willy-nilly like, I know what it's like, it's like my situation. It's like you can feel justified in your mind, but sometimes you need a perspective outside of yours. So, you definitely want to do, get some counsel. I got a group that I run everything by, before I just go out here just posting anything, so that I make sure that I ain't out here,
These streets. These social media streets.
Yeah, looking crazy. So that one, and then the last one is, a do, right? If you're about action, we are really big on being authentic and not just talking to talk. You want to take some action. So in this current situation with Black Lives Matter, yes, you want to do your posts, but then what is your action, right? I mean, you don't have to go riot, right, and set stuff on fire, right? But go protest, right? Go protest peacefully, right? Go join a cause, right? Find a cause that you can donate to. Sign these petitions so that legislation can be changed and vote, right? So the last thing is
who's on the ballot, like
the last thing is
no Christmas tree.
And right, that part, right? Seek to learn about these candidates and these different laws, so that you can go and actually contribute to it. Don't just vote left or right. Oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm just gonna vote. It's like, and I'm not getting into politics. I'm just saying, like, take some action with it. With the things that in these times, like when things were happening, find a way to take action and be a part of not a part of the problem.
You said be a part of the problem.
Woo, boy,
Rewind.
I never heard that. Y'all didn't hear that.
Don't be part.
Be a
No.
part of the solution.
Solution, yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I screenshot that thing. He said
Yeah.
be a part
See what I mean? That's the truth. It's like I was on this live too, saying be a part of the problem. No. Be a part of the solution.
And I was gonna say another thing, like spiritually for us, another action for us is prayer, because prayer changes things. That's a huge one.
Listen, that's the major thing. If you want stuff to get right, pray for it. Pray for God's involvement in it. So listen, those are do's and don'ts. We hit you with 3 of the don'ts. And we'll run them real quick. Don't act like it's status quo. Don't, not business as usual. Don't be tone deaf, right?
Don't be insensitive, yes.
Right. Don't be posting stuff polarizing and then expecting people to come buy your t-shirts. Hey, you just told me that I'm the worst person.
T-shirts today.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's an easy product to go to.
Yeah.
So don't be crazy polarizing. Understand that, you have a group of people. Like, why are you in business? Go back to that. And then before you post something, make sure that it doesn't disagree with your brand and what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Second and thirdly is don't get caught in these crazy arguments, just to have that satisfaction in that moment, and then people taking these screenshots and it comes back. Yeah. So leave people alone, let them argue online if they want to do that. That you have a responsibility to get your brand and product in front of brand, your product and service in front of your potential clients. So you don't want to jeopardize that.
Correct.
Okay, and then the do's is,
telling your story.
Tell your story, how it relates, right? People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So show some vulnerability and show how this impacts you as a human, right? How this affects you, and people are going to be able to relate with you, and honestly, they'll turn around and want to do business with you just because they say, you know what, he or she does, they experience things the same way I do. Seek counsel, right? Before you go posting things, before you go getting behind different causes, seek counsel from someone that's already involved in it, or someone that can give you some insight on.
It's a credible authority in your life.
Yeah. On somebody that can give you some really good feedback.
Hey, Grandma.
What's up, Grandma? And then lastly, take some action. Like, if you're gonna be out here talking the talk, you gotta walk the walk. Because what happened is people will see that, right? They'll see that, you was talking all this stuff about Black Lives Matter, and 3 weeks or 3 months later,
3 years,
we don't hear anything about anything you're doing for it. So that's what we got. That's what we got this week. It's been fun. It's been a fun live. We want to leave some time for Q&A.
Any questions that you all may have? Like we always say, it doesn't just have to be about what we currently stated. Any branding questions? Anything you have for us?
Yeah, let us know.
What's going on?
We're going to let y'all get back to your Tuesday night.
If not, we will get into the wrap-up and announcements.
Yeah. We got some changes at the horizon.
The horizon? Okay.
And the horizon. All right, what's up?
Anywho, I don't see any questions right now. But if you all do, think of something or whatever after this live ends, feel free to hit us up. You can DM us. Right now you can just DM us, hit us up on our social media accounts. Because, me and Clean, we're wearing our Branding Geek shirts, right? You see, the Branding Geeks. The Branding Geeks. However, the Branding Geeks, we're changing our name.
You want me to say it? Why you?
I was waiting for the audience applause.
Oh gosh, got you. What are they applying for?
I'm just joking. No, anywho, so we talk about branding all the time, right? Because obviously that's who we are. So, but we just ran into some things because we're in the midst of trademarking our name, but couldn't necessarily use this one. So
the trademarking, like, hey, listen, don't be out here building this brand. You 10 years down the road, you up here balling, and then you get that nice little cease and desist.
Letter from an attorney. We didn't get one, but
So
before it could have possibly gotten there.
yeah.
Yeah, so hit us up too if you have questions on any trademarking questions, because we can kind of point you in the right direction. But so we are changing our name to the Strategy Geeks. So we'll still be geeks, of course, because huh?
Thank you correcting me even through social media.
Oh,
This guy.
I don't know.
Suspense.
What
I
we
said?
You said something
Cease
wrong.
and desist. That's wrong.
Huh?
Hey, look, man. I ain't no lawyer.
But you do.
Don't get a letter saying
He's going.
give my money.
They're talking something on Cleet's Facebook page. But anywho, so the Branding Geeks will be transitioning into the Strategy Geeks. We've already changed over our website, so you'll be seeing more changes as it unfolds. But
yeah, we're the Strategy Geeks, and
Yes.
and as you know, we've been kind of branching out more and more in the recent months. Actually, we've been providing the service for such a long time, right? Websites, logos, helping with the messaging, and we've been journeying to the consulting and coaching phase where we're starting to meet with entrepreneurs, business owners, right, and really taking them down some of the processes that we've seen work in the field. So as we get into the course building and coaching and consulting, it's the right timing. It's the right timing to make the name shift. Obviously, the trademark kind of shoved us in this direction, but it was the right timing. So the Branding Geeks, we're going to be switching over to the Strategy Geeks, and you'll see.
y'all better strategize.
You'll see us. You'll see a lot of those changes. But yeah, it's about we love. That's why we like the Q&A part of it. We love talking strategy, marketing strategy, brand strategy, and really just helping. Really in your message strategy, right? And really just having conversations with entrepreneurs, business owners, content creators on how to take an idea and make it a reality. Like that's what we love to do. So it's such a fitting title. We're excited about it, and
When you said that's a pretty cool name, where did you go? Oh, he was just explaining that.
yeah, and we so we're excited. So thank y'all. Let us know what y'all think about the name. Let us know if you have any questions about trademarks. We learned a lot from this whole process.
Hey, you learned through the experience,
Yeah. So we can definitely share something, but we'll say this: definitely look to do it sooner than later, because we would hate for you to build a strong brand and then come to find out somebody got the same name and they've
been operating in over 20 years.
Yeah, you don't want that part. So do your due diligence there, and you'll be a happy person.
Yes.
All right. So we probably don't want to tell them to go find us on the brand.
I won't give our email because we're transitioning our emails over as well. However, you can go to thestrategygeeks.com.
You sure can.
To get in contact with us, check out our website. Like I said,
get our guide. We got a guide in there that talks about
a website checklist. Do you have your website in order?
Come on now.
Go
Audit
ahead
your site.
and sign up to get your free. Believe it's a 17-point website checklist.
17?
Seven. Oh, I did way too many.
It's a lot of work. I was like,
17 points.
You wrote all that?
But it's a website checklist.
Yeah.
See if your website is in order.
Yeah, so go to the strategygeeks.com. Strategygeeks.com.
Yes.
And
strategygeeks.com.
My bad. Golly, thestrategygeeks.com.
Yes.
And you scroll down to the bottom, or you'll see the pop up. Get the guide, and more to come.
Yes. So that's it. That's all we have for you all tonight. Like we always say, we hope you all have a better than ever week. Thank you, Brandon, for putting in the link, thestrategygeeks.com. We hope you all stay safe, stay healthy, stay aware, stay acknowledging what's going on.
You know what I'm saying?
And stay active. And let's keep our actions going, okay?
That's right. Black lives matter, man. Straight up. They do. Sorry. I mean it. For real.
Yes.
Okay. That's awkward.
But we love y'all.
You got so quiet.
I know. Just like for real.
No, you just got quiet. No, for real. So anyway, hopefully it was good. And like I said, man, we are praying for the families that are affected by these recent events. Keep us in your prayers, and we I think we're at a tipping point as a nation. So let's pray that we can get over this hump, man, and let this be a thing of the past. That's the prayer. So
Yes.
thank y'all for listening.
Love
Catch y'all next week. Yeah.
Have a good night, y'all. Bye.